My name is Marin Elise Caraway, 48 years old. Marcus didn't clear his throat or choose soft lighting or preface with a joke. He set his glass down, lined up the condensation ring with the grain of the table like he was marking a boundary, and said, "I want to open this up, or I'm done." I watched his hand, not his face. People tell on themselves with their hands, whether they're steady enough to hold the thing they're threatening to break. His knuckles were white. "I see," I said. It had been weeks of small tells dressed in newness. New wardrobe, new supplements, new playlists full of songs that insisted time could be reversed with abs and daylight savings. Self-care retreats. He'd say the phrase like it absolved him. The phone lived face down, but never far. A laugh he used to save for me started showing up for a screen. "Marin," he went on, "we're stagnant. We need passion, excitement. I need to feel alive." "Therapy?" I asked. I kept my voice low, detached, the way you talk to a loose live wire. "A vacation?" I added, because I wanted to hand him every escape hatch before he lit the house. He shook his head. "No, open. We can set rules, boundaries. We both explore. We stay. Us." I could hear the capital letters in his voice. He'd already built the script in his head. Noble, modern, fair. The version where he was the brave pioneer of a love that could withstand anything, especially her. The ghost of a woman already in the room. I said conversationally, "What's her name?" He blinked, the blink of an actor who missed his cue. "This isn't about someone." "It's never hypothetical," I said. "You don't bring a moving truck unless you've got an address." A beat, then the defensive scoff. "You're being paranoid." I let the silence widen until he had to cross it or drown in it. "Kara," he said finally, and the syllables thudded like a dropped weight. "Kara from CrossFit. Nothing happened. Yet. I'm talking to you first. I'm being ethical." Ethical. The word sprouted thorns in my mouth. Across the table, the city flashed its manic heartbeat through the window. Glints on windshields, red beads hung in air. It all looked organized from here. I nodded. I tasted metal and counted to 5. "Okay," I said, "let's open it." He exhaled like a man cracking a car window in a flood. "Really?" "Really," I said. "No rules." He brightened. "No rules?" "Wide open," I said, "starting tomorrow." He stood up to hug me, and I let the air between us be my body. "You won't regret this," he said, already texting someone who wasn't me. When he fell asleep, I opened my laptop. Emails, documents, screenshots. Not frantic, focused. There's a strange peace in the hour you decide to stop begging life to be gentle and start writing what you can live with. At 9 a.m., I walked into Allison Caraway's office. My older sister wears seriousness like a tailored suit and keeps a candy dish for clients who forget to eat when the building falls. Family law, contracts, the catalog of how people break, just in case they don't. "Sit," she said, reading my face in a second and my posture in half. Bullet points. "Cohabitation and finances separated, explicit," I said. "No shared funds spent on other partners. Monthly disclosures. Full transparency about outside connections. A mutual consent clause for closure. Either of us can propose ending open, but both must agree. Otherwise, separation under terms we outline now." She scribbled, eyes flicking up. "And if he initiates separation within a year?" "No palimony," I said. "Waiver. He forgoes claims to support. We each walk with what's ours." "Harsh," she said, not judging, just weighing. "Accurate," I said. "Documentation?" she asked. I slid my phone across her desk. His ultimatum last night. Texts about ethical openness, his CrossFit schedule, her Instagram, Kara, the kettlebell missionary. Allison didn't smile. "We'll call it the Open Relationship and Cohabitation Agreement. Mirror as many marital protections as possible and be very clear about consent. I'll draft. Rebecca will review." "Rebecca?" I said, even though I knew. "Rebecca Thornton," she said, "senior partner, Shark and Pearls." I watched the words stack in a neat legal wall between me and the parts of myself that wanted to set things on fire. "Tonight," I said. "I want him to see the blueprint while he can still convince himself it's a blueprint and not a cage." Allison paused. "Marin, you don't have to win this beautifully." "I don't intend to," I said, "but I won't lose ugly." By late afternoon, I had a PDF whose spine was stronger than my hands had felt in months. It named terms people like to keep in shadows. Disclosures, spending, consent, termination. It defined open so it couldn't be warped into secret, and respect so it couldn't be massaged into cowardice. It included a line I loved too much. Either party may end the open arrangement with 30 days' notice only if both consent. Otherwise, standard separation per Section 9 applies. At 6:58, the doorbell rang. Marcus had changed his shirt twice, cleaned the counters, and hovered in the kitchen like a host praying for immaculate vibes. "Who is she?" he asked, trying to make it sound like banter. "Rebecca Thornton," I said, opening the door. She was silver-haired and precise, wearing a suit that made our hallway look like it needed to apologize. "Good evening," she said, taking in the room like a battlefield map. Marcus's smile shrank. Hi, you're here professionally," she said. Allison looped me in. I poured wine none of us would taste. "Marcus wanted to set rules," I said. "I prefer terms." Rebecca opened the folder with the calm of a surgeon and slid the agreement across the table. "This memorializes your choice," she said. "Both parties consent to a non-exclusive relationship model, financial firewalls, prohibitions on using cohabitation funds for outside partners, monthly disclosures with receipts, a dispute resolution clause, a mutual consent requirement to revert to exclusivity, and a no palimony waiver if either initiates separation within 12 months. Marcus stared like he'd been invited to a casual swim and discovered depth markers and meters. This is extreme." "This is clarity," Rebecca said. "You asked for open. The only thing we hate more than divorce court is ambiguity." He flipped pages with the reverence of a man handling a snake. What if we don't sign anything?" "Then you have chaos," Rebecca said pleasantly, "and chaos is expensive." He looked up at me. "Why are you doing this to us?" I wanted to say, "Because you tried to hand me a door and call it a gift, but the handle was already worn by someone else's palm." Instead, I said, "Because I'm not walking into a storm without a map." He turned to the clause about mutual consent to close the arrangement and frowned like the math betrayed him. "So if I want to close it, you can say no?" "If you want exclusivity after opening the floodgates," I said, "you'll need my yes, or you can separate under Section 9. "That's vindictive." "That's procedural," Rebecca said dryly. He kept reading, color draining in stages. When he hit no palimony, he sat back hard. "This protects you." "It protects both of us from the worst versions of ourselves," I said, which, for the record, showed up last night with an ultimatum. Rebecca stood. "You should have your own counsel review, Marcus. Take a few days. Don't sign anything you don't understand, but do understand. If you choose an open model, choose it, name it, own it." After she left, the apartment felt too large for the silence it held. "That wasn't a date," Marcus said finally. "I never said it was," I said. "I said I had someone over." His jaw set. "No one signed something like this." "You threatened to burn down the house unless I let in the wind," I said. "This is the blueprint that keeps the roof from crushing us both." He paced, hands on his hips, the way he does when a reality refuses to rearrange itself around his desire. "If I sign this, you'll really be okay with it being open?" "You asked for a door," I said. "I'm giving you hinges." He stared at the contract as if it might blink first. "I need time." "Take it," I said. "But understand, every day we live under a story we didn't write costs us something we won't get back." He didn't answer. He walked to the window. The city blinked like a lie and a promise. In the reflection, I could see both of us, his outline sharp, mine steady. Somewhere across town, a woman named Kara wrapped her hands around a barbell and told herself gravity was an enemy and not a law. I washed the wine glasses. He texted no one in front of me. In bed, the ceiling fan drew slow circles I wanted to step into and disappear. I didn't sleep. I counted the ways you can be ethical when you are afraid. In the morning, the agreement would still be on the table, stark and ordinary. It would still be real. And the door he wanted would be open, but not the way he pictured it. Breakfast tasted like negotiation. Marcus buttered toast with the concentration of a surgeon and said, "So, rules. No bringing people here. Protection. Curfews. Transparency, obviously." "Obviously," I echoed, taking my time with the kettle. Steam fogged the window and cleared. Fogged and cleared, like the city was practicing truth. "I'm serious, Marin." He set the knife down. "We can do this right." "I agree," I said. "We should do it right." I slid the printed agreement closer to him, the way you slide a bill to a man who swore dinner was on him. "This is the right we're using." His mouth thinned. "I meant normal people rules." "These are normal people rules," I said, "for people who mean what they say." He didn't sign, not yet. But he didn't shove it away, either. He ate his toast like it had bones. "By the way," I said, rinsing my cup, "I have a lunch meeting." Work? A date, I said. He stopped chewing. Already? You wanted a door, I said. It opens both ways. He laughed, a short sound with no humor in it. Who is he? You'll meet her at dinner, I said. He stared at me, the pronoun catching and tearing at his certainty. I thought, you'll meet her at 7, I repeated, and the sentence was a test he didn't know the subject of. He nodded, as if agreement could rebend its own logic. I didn't take a date to lunch. I took a laptop to a quiet corner and built a profile on a vetted companionship platform that requires ID, consent confirmations, and a zero secrets policy. Not the place for smoke or mirrors, just contracts with soft edges for two people who want the same clarity from different angles. My profile was honest. Open relationship, disclosed and documented, seeking conversation, dinners, art house matinees, and an antidote to performative chaos. Boundaries firm. Responses arrived like rain on tin. Men? A few. Mostly women, 20-somethings to late 30s, polite, direct, and brutally practical about student loans, rent, seed capital for small dreams. It wasn't sordid, it was spreadsheet honest, mutually beneficial, transparent. One message stood out because it didn't rush. Jennifer, 29, marketing degree. Funny on purpose, not by accident. Crushing debt, excellent taste in dumplings. We traded paragraphs that felt like two people pointing flashlights at the same lamp and saying, yes, that's light. At 12:45 p.m., I closed the laptop with the calm that comes from aligned expectations. At 7 o'clock, our doorbell rang. Marcus opened it to Rebecca Thornton, again immaculate, again not there to flirt with fate. He made a sound you make when the universe replaces your gotcha with a syllabus. We'll be quick, she said, setting her briefcase on the table. Marcus, you asked for time. Consider this my time. He skimmed revisions, a minor date stamp correction, a clarified receipts clause, and found no trap, just nets labeled, so clearly, even a panic could read them. He signed. I signed. The room didn't change color, but it felt different. It felt named. When Rebecca left, Marcus sagged into a chair. I thought you were bringing a date. I brought the only person who should be in this house tonight, I said. A witness. That was manipulative, he said. That was procedural, I said. Welcome to ethical. He went to the gym after dark, which meant Kara. He returned with a sweat like rain and a mutter like static. He passed me in the hall the way you pass a photograph after a funeral. How's Kara? I asked, mild as tea. She wants to take it slow, he said, then winced at his own phrasing. Slow as in honest, I said, or slow as in secret? He didn't answer. The silence was its own affidavit. 2 days later, Jennifer and I met at a coffee shop that makes latte art that looks like muscle memory. She wore a navy blazer and the tired pride of someone who learned to be impressive while exhausted. First order of business, she said, eyes bright but cautious. Your situation is actually documented? I handed her a copy of the signed agreement with the sensitive sections blacked out. Consent, disclosures, financial firewalls, termination terms. She read like a professional, not a romantic. Okay, she said, releasing a breath. I'm not interested in secrets. I'm not interested in sleeping with my landlord for rent either. I want dinner conversation that isn't networking. I want to see a play and talk about it without practicing opinions. If there's support, I need it to be spelled out. Clean. Monthly loan payments to Yanavans, I said, plus a fixed stipend. No intimacy expectations. If at any point you feel uncomfortable, we sever. No penalties. Boundaries aren't bargaining chips. She smiled, not shy, just relieved. I forgot people could talk like this. We drafted terms on our napkin like teenagers pretending money is just paper, then ported them to an email like adults who know it is both metaphor and shackle. On the sidewalk, we shook hands. It felt businesslike in a way that made kindness simpler, not smaller. At home that evening, Marcus benchmarked us like a man reading parallel reviews. So you're paying someone to date you? I'm compensating someone for their time and presence under conditions we both consented to, I said, which is more honest than half the dinners I ate in my 30s. That's prostitution. That's projection, I said. Also, we haven't even kissed. By your math, your situation with Kara is free because it uses my emotional budget. The age comment he threw last night about Kara being 32 and me being 48 hovered unspoken between us. I let it hang, let him feel its weight without my hands holding it up. The first week blurred into a series of details that didn't fit on Instagram. Receipts saved in labeled folders, calendars shared. A template Allison had sent titled Monthly Disclosures that made me appreciate bullet points the way hikers appreciate cairns on foggy switchbacks. Marcus's disclosures, week 1. 2 coffees with Kara at the gym cafe. 1 late-night drive to talk that ended with, "We can't tell my husband yet," splashed across his face in invisible ink. 3 dating app matches who wanted chill vibes and no paper trail. A podcast queue full of polyamory episodes he listened to like cramming for an exam he skipped all the lectures for. Mine. 1 dinner with Jennifer. 2 hours. We laughed about a billboard that spelled opportunity wrong. 1 wire transfer to her loan servicer with a memo line that simply said, Agreement 1.1. A matinee ticket confirmation for next week. Aisle seats. He tried to make it a competition because he doesn't know how not to. So, your companion is 29. She is, I said. And you're not? I'm not. So what's the point? To remember I am pleasant company, I said. To prove to myself I can live in a room without the air being rationed. He scoffed. You always make it sound like poetry when it's money. Only because you make it sound like heroism when it's hunger, I said. By week 2, the romance of Marcus's theory clanged against the practicalities of his practice. Kara's "we'll tell him when it's safe" became "we'll never tell him," became "we'll be careful," became "we should stop." She blocked him on Instagram after a comment from his coworker landed under her deadlift video like a flare. He came home with the look of a man who mistook a rearranged boundary for a betrayal. Maybe I'll try apps, he said, as if they were pharmacies. He did. Men my age want 20s. Men his age want 20-somethings. The 20-somethings want vacations, which looks suspiciously like alimony with better branding. He met a woman who wanted a sugar mama arrangement. He told me like it was satire. I laughed because it was symmetry. He began to resent the spreadsheet. It's invasive, he said of the disclosures he insisted we both file. It's accountability, I said. You chose the kind of openness that counts who's in the room. Midweek, he tried a softer play, showed up at my office with my favorite salad from the place with the cilantro that tastes like apology. He leaned on my doorframe the way he used to when the future still took cues from us. Thought we could talk, he said gently. My assistant, who knows the difference between privacy and silence, popped her head in. Marin, do you still want me to confirm your dinner with Jennifer? Marcus flinched like he'd been named at an altar. So it's serious, he said later, in the car where old fights like to carpool. It's clear, I said. That night he proposed we write new house rules, as if a list on the fridge could veto signatures on paper. No outside guests, ever. No public events with companions. No posts on social. We already have rules, I said. You sign them. Those are legal. I mean human rules. I find the legal ones keep us human, I said. He stared at me, and for a moment I saw the man I fell in love with. Earnest, brave, foolish, in a way that used to be charming. Then the moment passed, and the man in front of me wanted a shortcut again. On Friday, an invite pinged from my company for a charity gala I usually dreaded. The kind where networking wears a tuxedo and sincerity wears flats it regrets. I glanced at the +1 line and felt the future tilt. Do you want to go? Marcus asked, hopeful, as if a ballroom could stamp normal on our foreheads. I'm taking Rebecca, I said. He laughed like I'd told a joke at my own expense. Your lawyer? My witness, I said. Great networking for her firm. I'm your partner, he said. In an open relationship, I said softly, you can't claim exclusivity on Tuesdays and absolution on Fridays. He threw up his hands. This is punishment. No, I said, this is consequences. That night, the apartment was quiet in the way hospitals are quiet. Things happening behind walls, machines blinking assurance they don't really believe. Marcus went to the bedroom. I stayed at the table, looked at the contract, and pressed my palm to the page like it was a heartbeat. I didn't feel triumphant, I felt steady. Outside, a siren threaded the dark. Somewhere, Kara posted a story of her hands chalked white. Somewhere else, Jennifer underlined a line in a marketing book and texted her friend about a dinner that felt like a window opening. In here, a pen had turned a threat into a structure. And structures once built do what people often can't, hold. The 3rd week began like a confession no one wanted to make. Marcus moved through the apartment in a rhythm of avoidance, long showers, late gym sessions, long silences over short meals. Every sound had an apology tucked beneath it. When he finally spoke, it wasn't apology, it was defense. Everyone's judging me, he said one night. They think I'm the bad guy. Then stop acting like one, I replied without heat. He glared. You wanted this too? No, I said. You wanted this. I just wanted truth. He dropped his keys on the counter. The clatter sounded like punctuation. By midweek, the cracks began to show in his carefully curated new life. Kara had gone cold. Her husband had discovered text messages and she told Marcus it was over. The gym, once his temple, now felt like a courtroom. People whispered. Someone snickered when he walked past. He came home earlier than usual that day, slamming the door harder than necessary. She's crazy, he said. She told everyone lies about me. Or maybe they just saw the truth, I said. He paced. You're enjoying this. I looked up from my laptop. You mistake composure for pleasure. He opened his mouth to argue, then shut it, because the words he wanted to use, like respect, loyalty, faithfulness, no longer belonged to him. That weekend, I attended the charity gala. Rebecca arrived in a navy gown that could silence a boardroom. The room buzzed with music, crystal, and subtle judgment. Marcus had assumed he'd be my date. When he saw my photo on social media, me in silver, Rebecca beside me, the caption, Great Night Supporting Education Grants, he called 5 times in a row. I didn't answer. At the gala, I smiled, I mingled, I breathed. For the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was performing composure. I simply was. Rebecca caught me watching the chandelier reflections on the floor. It feels lighter when you name what's heavy, she said. Monday morning, Marcus cornered me before coffee. Taking your lawyer to a gala? That's petty. Petty? I said. You announced to our entire life that monogamy was obsolete. He looked wounded. You're humiliating me. No, I said. You're revealing yourself. He slammed the fridge door. You're impossible. And yet you keep coming home, I said softly. He stalked out without another word. 2 days later, Jennifer texted, Lunch this week? There's a new place with ridiculous soup. I said yes. It wasn't romance, it was relief. 2 people choosing kindness without agenda. She talked about student loans, about marketing burnout, about wanting to start over. I told her that people rarely start over, they just start honestly. When I got home, Marcus was waiting. You're glowing, he said bitterly. I had soup, I said. He laughed once, sharp. You're paying her, right? Yes. Then you're delusional. I set my keys down. No, I'm documented. That night, he didn't sleep in our bed, not because of anger, because of shame. I could feel it through the wall like heat. By week 4, he had stopped filling out the disclosure forms. They're stupid, he said. Who cares who I see? The agreement does, I said, and so does accountability. He tried to pivot. Let's close it. Go back to normal. Normal died the night you made a threat sound like a request, I said. Fine, I'm giving notice, he said. 30 days. Mutual consent, I reminded him. You can't close it alone. He froze. You planned this. No, I said. You signed this. He read the clause again and paled. You wouldn't. I already did, I said, every part of this. He swore under his breath, pacing the living room like a caged argument. You're vindictive. I'm thorough, I said. He left the house that night. When he returned, his eyes were red and his dignity was somewhere else. I'll divorce you anyway, he said. Go ahead, I said. But remember the waiver, no palimony, no support, everything separate. He stared at me like he didn't recognize the woman in front of him. You're heartless. No, I said quietly, just tired of being threatened. The next morning, he tried a different weapon. Pity. Marin, he said softly, I made a mistake. Yes, I said. I love you. You love control, I corrected. He blinked. Don't do this. You already did, I said. I'm just cleaning up the paperwork. He looked around the kitchen like it might defend him. We can fix this. You can't fix what you won't admit you broke, I said. His silence lasted 3 full minutes. Then he whispered, I didn't think you'd actually let me go. I folded the contract, slid it into its envelope. That was your second mistake. By the 5th week, the silence between us had stopped being temporary. It had become structural, part of the house, part of the air. Marcus still lived there, but not really. He lingered. He haunted. He filled space without belonging to it. One evening, I found him sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone with that look people get when they're searching for the version of themselves that doesn't exist anymore. He looked up, eyes glassy. Kara's moved on, he said. She's dating some guy from the gym, 22. She posted it everywhere. Good for her, I said. He slammed the phone down. You think this is funny? No, I said calmly. I think it's predictable. He stood. I gave up everything for her. You gave up everything for an illusion, I said. That's not love. That's ego, with better lighting. He stared at me like I'd hit him. Then, quietly, you really hate me. I don't hate you, I said. I just stopped protecting you from yourself. The next morning, he called my mother. He told her I was destroying the relationship, that I'd hired lawyers to trap him. Mom called, worried, her voice still warm with decades of habit. Sweetheart, what's going on? She asked. I sent her the signed agreement. He wanted an open relationship, I said. He got one. A long pause. Then, softly, oh, Marin, he really thought this was freedom? Yes, I said. And now he's learning freedom has receipts. By week 6, he was unraveling. He tried to weaponize nostalgia. He started leaving photo albums on the counter, old playlists in the queue. One night he came home with wine and said, remember our trip to Maui, that sunset? I remember, I said. I also remember what came after. You've changed, he whispered. I stopped performing forgiveness, I said. He looked away, his throat working. You won't even try? Try what? Pretending this didn't happen? His voice cracked. I just want my life back. That life, I said, was built on me pretending not to notice your exit plan. The next morning, he didn't go to the gym. He went to Rebecca's law firm. He accused her of manipulation, claimed she'd exploited emotional distress. She called me an hour later, voice calm, amused. Your partner is here, threatening a malpractice suit. I sighed. Show him the footage. She did. Security video. Marcus laughing, shaking hands, signing willingly. Rebecca's voice, clipped and professional. You had 5 days to review, Mr. Larkin. You chose to sign. He left red-faced, humiliated. That night, he came home defeated. What will it take, Marin, he asked, to end this? To go back? I set my glass down carefully. We can't go back. You burned that bridge. Then forward, counseling, anything. I studied him. The trembling hands, the fear, not of losing me, of losing control. Here's my offer, I said. One time only. We separate clean. No lawsuits, no screaming, no alimony. You keep your savings and car. I keep my retirement and the apartment. We end it like adults. He blinked. That's less than I'd get in court. In court, I said, you'd also have a file full of texts, receipts, and a signed contract proving you initiated this. You'd lose more than money. He sank onto the chair, defeated. You'd really walk away after everything? I already did, I said. He nodded slowly. You're colder than I thought. No, I said softly, just finally warmed to myself. 3 months later, the paperwork was finalized. The mediator said, that was the cleanest separation I've seen in years. I smiled. Preparation is peace. Marcus moved out. The apartment felt bigger, not emptier. The morning light didn't have to tiptoe anymore. Jennifer and I ended our arrangement the week the separation finalized. No drama, no mess. She hugged me at the cafe and said, you saved me more than you think. I told her she'd done the same. I'd paid off her loans, helped her land a marketing role at a partner firm. She sends me memes now. One's about coffee, not contracts. Marcus? He rented a small place near the gym, though he doesn't go often anymore. Mutual friends say he's still trying to find himself, still learning that the mirror doesn't always give feedback. 2 weeks ago, he showed up at my door with a bottle of wine and a folder of old photos. Just one drink, he said, to remember. I opened the door wide enough for him to see the emptiness behind me. No shared furniture, no shared ghosts. I remember everything, I said. That's why I can't. He hesitated. You never loved me. I did, I said, for 20 years. You loved me until someone younger smiled at you. That's not the same thing. He nodded once, eyes wet, then left the photos on the step. I recycled them the next morning. A month later, I went hiking with a group from work. That's where I met Carol. 44, divorce, a dry sense of humor, sharp enough to cut glass. We talked about bad decisions and good lessons. When I told her the story, edited, gentle, she laughed so hard she cried. You really made him sign a contract? She asked between breaths. He insisted on openness, I said. I just gave it structure. She smiled. And now? Now, I said. I'm not waiting for someone to choose me. I'm choosing quiet. We hiked until the sun began to drop and the sky turned the color of forgiveness. Not the cheap kind, the real kind, the kind that doesn't need to be announced. I wake up in my own place now. I make coffee the way I like it. Strong, unapologetic. The morning doesn't ask for permission anymore. And when I think of Marcus, it's not with anger, it's with clarity. He wanted freedom without consequences. I gave him both. He asked for open, and I opened it, wide enough for him to fall through and for me to finally walk out.